Hey there, Romulus Mars, it's Game Changer. So let's have a little scan. Initially, fantastic, 79% is very, very good, 37% excellent. Total fobs deployed does suggest that maybe that's something you can have a little look at your game. Certainly 3 level 5 fobs makes life very, very interesting, especially with the new upgrades. So if you're not deploying your fobs, I will send you a few videos to help you with that. Let's see what we can see. Okay, so initial observations are on first glance interesting. You've got barracks over here. Now you could be treating that as a giveaway, so you know what they attack that rather than attacking other parts of your base first. So I do understand that. This is my thoughts on the base here. So what I would do personally is I would drop a tank in about where it says attack there, somewhere in that sort of zone, and I would then put my M270s or GMLRS or HIMARS as an over and above tack, and I'd be able to take those turrets out no problem. Things like HIMARS and GMLRS will certainly give a machine gun a good run for the money in terms of range, and definitely will outrange a heavy turret and also a railgun. Now, what's interesting is that, again, I could come from this side, take that machine gun out, and then hit the heavy cannon. So you're kind of relying a little bit on machine guns. So you kind of obviously need to maybe have a little look at that. Now, what I find interesting is that you have a lot of mind inside, but obviously with the new distance attacks, you know, like the HIMARS and GMLRS and things like that, and M270s, people obviously would rain death on you from a distance. So I think that's maybe something you need to be considering. So I would want to see a little bit less machine gun. I'd maybe want to see a little bit more anti-air. So I would probably suggest, if you haven't already got things like snipers, you could maybe have snipers in your barracks. If you have them in your war factory, Zeus, you know, will support obviously your anti-air, and maybe an extra flak, something along that sort of line. And then what I would also want to then see is the base protected better by things like peacemakers and things along that sort of line. So a peacemaker is absolutely fantastic, and there's nothing that outranges it. I mean, there are ways around it if you're technically good, but it does cause people a lot more problems than, say, machine guns. The other thing I'm not a massive fan of is railguns as well, because they're, I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, if you get hit by one, it's quite devastating, but the range on them is quite short. And a lot of your vehicles now will outrange a railgun, so I'd be tempted to set them a little bit more out of the equation as well. Personally, also I would try and bring your barracks into your base. Now, I don't know why you'd want, say, for example, the power plant inside the base. That could be outside the base, and bring the barracks inside the base. I mean, you know, there's things in a barracks that, you know, can be quite useful, especially force recon, snipers, and some of the more advanced sort of troops, which do cause obviously people a lot of problems. At very least, even using the mortarmen is obviously quite a useful sort of base technique. So I have a little think about that. And also as well, if I'm going to attack from, say, here, or if I'm going to attack, say, from here to try and get rid of the war factory, because that'd be the first thing I would try and take out. This area here is the first thing I'm going to try and hit. Then maybe you need to be thinking about your mine placements, so that mines are a better sort of position to cause me bother. At the moment, I could pretty much park here and fire over the top and not be kind of troubled by any sort of mine in any way, shape or form. And then the second observation is that you have in your barracks there, what? Forgot the name of the buggy. Oh, you know what it's called. But basically, yeah, I mean, you can imagine if that little buggy comes out and along with a couple of others, it's not really going to be any sort of major problem. That really needs to be tanks. It really needs to be stuff that's going to cause people issues, things that are difficult to kill. They're just at your level. Bear in mind you're a 54, which means anybody at 64 downwards would want to have a go at you. That's really not going to trouble them at all. So you need to be kind of concentrating on getting them, a bit more sort of beefed up. Certainly, I would probably go McCarver in there, in 3 slots and things along that sort of line, and you should find that becomes a bit more effective. So in summary, start to look to get rid of a little bit less, go a little bit less machine gun, get rid of rail guns. The turrets that I think are particularly good, maybe 1 machine gun, maybe flak, certainly peacemakers, certainly salvos, because they do lock onto you. Think about where your mines need to be, and then certainly think about what needs to be in your base. I would certainly move the power plant and bring the barracks into it if it was mine. But do be aware that would give you possibly a vulnerability from here. Some sort of up and over firing would obviously, if you can appreciate that, salvo's really not going to pick you up at that sort of point. And the machine gun's not really going to pick you up at that point. But a peacemaker, on the other hand, if that salvo there was a peacemaker, the range on them is absolutely amazing. So that's the things I would have a little look at. Okay, bro. Cheers.